Okay, welcome back. I told you we was going to go through a 25-step process earlier on how to reload these rifle casings. I want to hand out this. This is a copy of the PowerPoint, and at the back of this PowerPoint is an evaluation form. And whenever we get done, before you leave, if you would fill out, maybe write a couple things down there to where maybe some things that you noticed or saw, something that would help me to improve this presentation as well as the future presentations. So I'm going to hand you this copy here if you want to follow those steps along, and then as I said, you can look at that form while we're going through this, okay? This presentation is basically just like the last one. It's broken up into 4 sections. The overview of the steps. We're going to clean the brass. Actually, you would clean the brass, but that's a 45-minute to an hour process. Now we've already kind of done that for the time that's been allocated. We're going to prepare the casings, we're going to load the casings, and then we're going to do the final steps. As we talked about the tooling earlier, in the tumbler, you place your casings inside, remove the lid, place your casings in there, you turn it on, it tumbles inside there and cleans them. You want to put it in there 45 minutes to an hour, typically. Then you remove them. You will, and obviously you'll have the media inside them as well. Clean all that out. When you get those cleaned out, you want to take your case. We're going to do one today. Typically, you know, you may do 10 or 20 at a time. Each row, you'll put them in there every other one. You'll have 5 to a row. So you may work with 4 rows at a time. As you go through the process, you'll work from side to side to keep it organized. So pull it out of your tumbler, put it in your case loading block. Prior to preparing the case, we need to select a die. What you're going to do, this die is used to hold the case, okay? You look on the back, as I said before, has a chart. That's what determines which die you use. The dies are stamped. They have a number in them. We're going to work on the 30-06, as I said earlier. That's die number 2. I've already taken that die out, put it in the press, but basically it just slides right in the base here. You just slide it in the base. It snaps in there. In order to, one of the things that we need to do, it's a one-step process. Another die, we're going to screw it right in the top of the press. It's going to resize the neck here. It's going to resize your neck and remove your primer at the same time. Whether you have a 30-06 or a 270 or 243, it really doesn't matter, but each caliper has a set of dies. We want to resize the neck, okay? The dies are marked. It will tell you the neck. It'll tell you the bullet cedar. It'll tell you full-length resizer. On the rifles that are bolt action, all you need to do is just resize the neck. So you select you get your die, and you put it in the top of your press. Right here is a setting. Typically, you only have to move that one time, like when you're first setting it up. Once you get it where it needs to be, it has an Allen screw in there, and you just tighten it up. And typically, you don't ever have to change that. Prior to removing your primer, we're going to clean the inside of this neck. We're going to lubricate it, and we're going to clean it. This box here has a little bit of lubrication in it. You just put that lubrication in the end. You put it over your brush, and you just run it over the brush a few times. You want to clean the inside of it out. That little bit of lubrication, when we go to seat the bullet, will minimize the resistance inside there when you're trying to seat the bullet. You just want to move it a couple times over there, make sure it's clean. When you get it kind of cleaned out, you're going to place it inside that case holder that we put in there. When you get it inside your case holder, when we pull this lever back, this die that we put in is going to resize the neck, and it's going to remove the primer at the same time. When it comes to this adjustment here, when you pull this down, the primer in the end of it here, when that primer falls out, it'll fall out, run down this little deal, down in this little pocket. When it falls out, if it doesn't fall out, you need to raise this up just a little bit so it'll go a little bit deeper. When the primer falls out, it's already resized the neck, the depth. That's plenty of depth. So typically you'll just move this down. The primer falls out. The neck has been resized. You can see, I'll pull this out. Hopefully you can see where the lubrication, it came down. It went in the neck that deep. The primer has been removed. And when you get that done, we talked about the casings earlier. I showed you that damaged one earlier. We talked about it. And you want to inspect the neck. Make sure it doesn't have any cracks. If you have any cracks in the neck, you want to discard it. If prior to removing the primer, if you saw powder burns on the outside of that primer, then that's an indication that pocket's getting too loose, and you discard the case for that. Now that the primer has been removed, you just take this brush, you're going to clean that out, and you just run that little, it's just a wire brush, you just run that wire brush in there. You clean that out, make sure it's all of the old deposits are out. Okay? Once you get that cleaned out, typically you're cleaning several of them here. You do one at a time. You'll just set it back in your case loading block. When you get it back in the case loading block, what you do is you prepare to install the primers. Go back to your supplies. You get your primer out. Place the primer on your installing tool. You want to put your lid back on. Okay. You want to take your case and you're going to install your case onto the primer installing tool. Your primers, you have a little path inside there. Okay? What you're going to do is you just tilt it, let the primer fall down in there. There's a plunger in there. When the primer falls down in there, you're going to take it, squeeze it up into the housing, up into the case. When you should feel some resistance. If you don't feel any resistance, that's an indication that, as I said before, the pocket is getting some wear, is too loose. You'd simply discard that case. Obviously, if you have if you can see the powder burn outside of that, as I said earlier, you're going to discard that case. Okay? You have the primer installed. You just going to look at it. You want to make sure it's flush. And you want to, at this point, you'll just place it back in your holding block. Again, if you're doing several, you'll go through, you'll install the primer in several casings, put them back in your loading block until we get ready for the next step. Now, the case has been resized at this point. The old primer's been removed. We've cleaned the pocket. We've installed a new primer. Now we have the case prepared to be reloaded. Now we'll enter into loading the case. What you're going to do, you want to, this is the RL19. We talked about earlier the most accurate load that we was going to load. It said to use RL19 powder. You're just going to take a little bit of powder, dump a little bit of powder in there. Don't take much, we're just going to do one. And here, this is your adjustment, your dispensing adjustment. Turn it out, it will dispense more powder. You can turn it in for less. I adjusted that prior to starting this, so it's going to be close when we get going here. We know from the information we got out of the reloading guide that we need 63 grains of powder. That's the maximum. What we're going to do, we're going to adjust our scale. Prior to adjusting the scale, you want to set all of your weights on 0. With all of the weights on 0, you want to look over here. That should be on 0. If that's not, you're going to turn this white wheel to level the scale. If everything's on 0, your weight's over here, this should be on 0. If it's not on 0, then you won't obtain an accurate measurement. So you want to make sure that your scale is level. Everything's on 0. The scale is level. So what we're going to do, we're going to dispense the powder. We're going to put the powder over here. We're going to weigh it. But prior to dispensing the powder, we're going to set our scale to the 63. It's set up in increments of 10. So you just put it on 60. You're going to put this one on 63. Okay. And in some cases, as you can see looking at that chart, some of it's 59.5, 57.5. Your 0.5 is going to be this last one. In this example, we're not going to use it, it's just 63, so we're going to leave it on 0. Okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to take this little cup right here. We're going to raise this up, dispense the powder. We're going to pour the powder onto the scale. See how much we're at. Sometimes when you dispense the powder, you can see the scale didn't move, hadn't moved yet. Sometimes it will dispense a little bit more. Sometimes we might go through this several times and it might dispense a little bit more than you want. If it dispenses a little bit more than you want, just take this pan here and dump it back into the trickler. Okay, being that in this example we didn't get enough, all you do is just take this trickler and you want to sit here and turn it, and you'll see that scale move. It's dumping just a little bit in there at a time. That scale. should climb up. It's just now starting to move. Actually, we could open that a little bit more, but this works just as well. It helps you to get it as accurate as you can. Some of these scales are digital. You can buy them that are digital. That's the one we talked about earlier in the magazine. You keep turning it until you get it just the way you want it. Right there is 63 grains. We got it set here. You're looking over here. When you're back to level, that's when you know you've obtained the desired amount. We want to load our casing now. What we're going to do, you just take your funnel, put your funnel on top of the case, pick up your little pan here, simply pour it in there. Usually what I do, if I'm working 2 rows or 3 rows, 4 rows, however many I'm doing, I loaded that one, I go through the process again, dispense my powder, I weigh it, decide it's right, I go to the next one. In an effort to keep from making a mistake, usually what I'll do when I load one, I'll take the bullet, I'll turn it upside down and leave there. That tells me I know that one's full. I can go to the next one. It's easy to get distracted. You can, in some cases, you know, you can skip one. You think you loaded it, in fact you didn't. Well, that can kind of cause you some problems, you know. You think you made a good set of bullets, in fact later you find out you didn't. So I use this as a reminder that I got that loaded and it's ready for the next step. Now I know this thing is full. I just filled it up. What I'm going to do, I'm going to prepare it now to seat the bullet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load it back in this case. I say I'm going to load it in the case, I'm just going to set it back into the press, into the holder. Now we need to change the die. We use this die, remember, to reload the resize the neck and to remove the primer. Okay? But what we're fixing to do is we're going to seat the bullet. So what we remove the die, come over here, we grab the bullet seating die. Same thing on this bullet seating die. What you want to do is you have an adjustment up here. That adjustment is determines the overall length. Okay. Once you see the bullet, you get the overall length just right, you just lock it down. Typically you don't ever have to change it again. Okay? You install your die. We know the bullet that we're going to use. We selected that. The press has been prepared. What we're going to do, you just simply take your bullet, place it on top of the case, pull the lever back just a little bit, pull it all the way down. You're going to feel some resistance. You resize the neck. You're going to pull it all the way down, might bump it a little bit, pull it back up. You can see the bullet has been installed into the case. Now, when you do that, after every step, you want to look. You want to look at the case and inspect the case very carefully. It could have cracked. If it has any cracks in it, again, you want to throw it away. Typically, you can reload these casings, rule of thumb, 15 to 20 times. This is 30-06 case, as I said before. you can buy 50 of them for about $30. I bought that gun back in '99. I bought one bag of casings, and actually I had reloaded those other ones. Actually, my dad had reloaded those other ones several times. I don't know how many times we reload them. I just wanted to get some new ones. I just didn't feel comfortable using them anymore. So they looked okay. I just wanted to change them. So now that we got the bullets seated, okay, the overall length, if you look in your reloading guide, it will tell you on this particular bullet, it is 3.3 inches, 300,000ths of an inch is what it is. That is the overall length that you need, okay? Set your caliper on that, and then you want to take your bullet, place it in there, and see there, actually, looks like we need to move that die just a little bit. See there? That's a little bit long. If it's too long, it won't chamber in the gun. It won't chamber in the gun. It's kind of hard to use it. So sometimes you can bump it just a little bit, and it'll work for you. That's going to be pretty close right there. I believe that one will be all right. And again, the final step, you want to inspect it. You want to make sure. You want to make sure you don't have any cracks in it. So, I know 25 steps might sound like quite a bit, but actually, it's really not that bad. Once you kind of get going with it. With all that being done and gone over, do y'all have any questions or anything about the steps or the process of any of it? What you want to ask, Carly? What you know?
How does this part come off when you just put it in there and lift it up?
Well, this die is tapered inside here. It's shaped like this bullet, so it just hugs. It hugs the top of this bullet, okay? When it hugs the top of this bullet, you pull this down, it presses it. See, you remember we resized the neck. When we resized the neck, we made it smaller. We made it smaller so it would fit snug. Okay, that's what you want.
How was it green when we did it on this, but now it's blue?
Oh, that's a different tip. They have different. You talking about the tip of the bullet?
Yeah.
Okay, the blue ones.
Okay.
Well, this is a different tip. Okay, you have various tips. You have ballistic tips. You have AccuBond. They come in several different grains, several different weights. So the blue ones that you remember, that's for a different rifle. Okay?
And I had another question. When you put them in this part, do you sort them out, put one right here and then go right here?
See, look here. See that? See, it doesn't fit real good in that one, but it'll hold a different case in that one. Every other one. Okay?
Okay.
Now, before we wrap it up, remember what I told you. The evaluation form is on those. It's the last page in that PowerPoint that I gave you. So, any comments that you want to leave me, if you would please write those down. So that helps me, so I can help others. With that being said, I thank y'all for the opportunity to share this with you. And anything I can do to help you in the future, just let me know.